Hey, year nines, let's take up assessment 3, covering ratios, probability, rearranging formulas, and averages and frequency tables. First ones, we've got a probability table here. The table shows the probabilities of rolling each of a number on a biased die. That's the singular for dice. So the numbers on a die could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but as you see, the probabilities are not all the same because this is a biased die. It's not fair. First thing we need to remember is that the sum of the probabilities must always be 1. So I'm writing the rule there very clearly for you because I know a lot of people are having trouble setting up an equation and then solving it. We know that the total probability is equal to 1, so let's write that equation. The equation is that all of these probabilities add up to 1. Notice that in this sum, I've got several x terms. I've got 3 different x terms, but that's not 3x because I've got a 2x in here. It's 1x plus 2x plus 1x. That makes 4x. So I'll group together my like terms as well as grouping together my number terms. So 0.2 plus 0.1 plus 0.3. That's going to be 0.6 plus 4x equals 1. So we're simplifying and we're solving it now. If we want to know what x is, get x on its own. First move the 0.6 across, it was plus, now it's minus. Then we're going to move the 4 across, it was multiply, now it's divide. So x on its own is 0.1. So we've got our value for x, 0.1. Work out the probability of rolling a 5. That should be a 5 there, probability of a 5. Probability of rolling a 5 is 2x. And now that we know what x is, we can say that the probability of rolling a 5 is 2 times 0.1. 2 times 0.1, that's 0.2, so we've got the probability of rolling a 5. Estimate the number of times I would expect to roll a value less than 3 if I roll the die 40 times. That's how many times do I expect to roll a 1 or a 2. The expected number of times that you roll some value is equal to the probability of the times that you roll that value multiplied by the number of tries. Less than 3, that's the probability of rolling either a 1 or a 2. So I'm going to work out the probability of rolling a 1 and 2 and add that together and multiply that by the number of tries, which was 40. Probability of rolling a 1 was 0.2. Probability of rolling a 2 was 0.1. So this is going to be 0.3 times 40. That's 3/10 of the time. 2/10 of the time I roll a 1. 1/10 of the time I roll a 2. 3/10 of the time I roll a number that's less than 3. So 3/10 of 40 is 12. I expect to roll a number less than 3 12 times. Now, averages from frequency tables, starting with the modal class. We know what the mode is and we know what classes are. The modal class is the class, that is the group that is the most common. And the most common group is the one with the highest frequency, so that's this group here. The most common mark for these students to get on their English exam was between 51 up to 75. So that's our modal class. Okay? Work out an estimate for the mean mark on the English exam. The mean mark. That's total of the marks divided by the total number of marks. Okay, so first we need to work out our midpoints of these marks because this is an estimate for the mean. I don't know what anybody scored exactly, but I'll assume that this one person scored exactly in the middle of these values, and these two people scored exactly in the middle of this class, and so on. So our midpoints. First midpoint, in between 1 and 25, add them together and divide by 2. That's 13. Next midpoint, 26 plus 50. That's sum divided by 2. And then 51 plus 75. That's sum divided by 2. And finally, 76 plus 100 divided by 2. These are my midpoints, so I'm going to assume that this one person scored exactly 13, while these two people both scored exactly 38. I'm estimating, I'm guessing, because I don't know exactly what they scored. That's why this is an estimate for the mean, but we are still calculating it as accurately as we can. Right, so we're working out our totals here. The one person who scored in between these marks, we're going to say that they scored 1 times 13. One person, and we're assuming they scored 13, so a total of 13 marks. These two people, we're going to assume they both scored 38, so 2 times 38 is 76 marks total. These 9 people, I'm going to assume they all scored 63, so 63 times 9. And these 8 people, I assume that they all scored right in the middle of these two numbers. Right in the middle of the class is 88, so 88 times 8. Okay, that's the total number of marks I'm guessing that these people scored. If I want to work out an estimate for their mean, I'm going to work out the total of the marks divided by the total number of students. Sum of the marks divided by total frequency. The frequency is the number of students. This was 1 student, 2 students, 9 students, and 8 students. And if you add that all up, that should add up to 20 because we were told in the question that there's 20 students. Okay? So I'm adding up all of my marks and I'm putting that over the total of all of the frequencies. And that works out to be 1,360 over 20, which is 68. Exactly 68. I don't want to round it. I don't want to estimate it. I've done my calculation as accurately as I can. It's only called an estimate because I use the midpoints and I assume that these people all scored the middle value. I don't know exactly what score they had. Okay, so there's my mean, 68. Simplified ratios. So there's 288 students doing online classes. Work out the simplified student to teacher ratio. The order is important here. Student, then teacher, if there are 18 teachers. So if there's 288 students and 18 teachers, we want to simplify that ratio. First write it in words, student to teacher, give the ratio that they gave us, 288 to 18, and we're going to simplify that. We're going to find a common factor between these two numbers. Now if you divide it by 2, you'll realize that you could still divide by more than just 2. So I'm going to try and find the highest common factor you can divide both of these values by, and it was 18. 18 divided by 18 was 1, and 288 divided by 18 was 16. So my simplified ratio, 16 to 1. Next, this is a sharing by ratios question. It's a sharing by ratios question because you're given a ratio, as you can see here, and you're given another value. But we have to read the wording very carefully to figure out what that value represents. Ms. Danielson and Ms. Twitchen agreed to share their students in a ratio of 3 to 2. So Ms. Danielson, 3, Ms. Twitchen, 2, following the order of the question. For the extended and core math groups, respectively means in that order. So extended, 3, core, 2. Ms. Danielson teaches extended, which was 3, and Ms. Twitchen teaches core, which is 2. How many students will there be in the extended math group if there are 30 students in total? So that's what tells us this is a sharing by ratios question. 30 students in total needs to be split into this ratio. That's not 30 students for Ms. Danielson, nor is it 30 students for Ms. Twitchen. It gets shared between the two. Okay, so first thing we need to do is set up the given ratio, labeling the sides, extended and core, 3 and 2. And then we're going to split the 30 students into this ratio. So it's not half and half. 3 parts go to extended, 2 parts go to core. So we need to know that the total number of parts we're splitting the 30 students into is 3 plus 2. That is 5 parts. I need to split the 30 students into 5 parts. So the number of students per part, 30. Split that by 5, so divide that by 5. That's going to be 6 students per part. And then go back to that original ratio that we had there. If Ms. Danielson's extended group has 3 parts, while Ms. Twitchen's core group has 2 parts, and there are 6 students per part, the extended group is going to be 3 times 6, and the core group is going to be 2 times 6, right? 3 times 6 is 18 students, 2 times 6 is 12 students, and you should notice that that would add up to the total number of students that we were told that there was. So 18 students are in Ms. Danielson's extended class and 12 students are in Ms. Twitchen's core class. Always reread the question when you're finished because this is not our answer. The question was, how many students will be in the extended math group? So again, look here, which one's the extended one? Good thing I wrote up above what each side represents. The extended is on the left-hand side, so it's 18 students. 18 students in the extended math group. Now, last one, rearranging this formula. Once again, I gave you the formula to try and make this easy for you, but you should know that if you're given the area of a rectangle, you need to write the equation for the area of the rectangle and then solve it. So I started you out with that equation. Being told that the length of the rectangle is 3 times its width, well, this is the length, which is 3w, and use this equation to work out the length and width and perimeter of the rectangle. So the equation for the area of a rectangle is length, which is 3w, times width, is equal to, and we're told the area, 75. So to work this out, we need to simplify this, get W on its own, and find out what W is, so we know what the width is. So 3W times W equals 75. 3W times W, you should know when you do W times W, that makes W squared, so this is 3W squared. I want the W by itself, so I need to move the 3 across. It was multiply, so I will divide. 75 divided by 3 is 25. And I got rid of the square. The opposite of square was square root, so square root 25. And W must be equal to 5 then. So I got what the width is. Width is 5. The length we were told at the beginning, length of the rectangle is 3 times its width. And I gave you that in the formula here. So the length is 3W. We now know what W is. W is 5, so length is 3 times 5. The length must be 15. So length is 15 centimeters. And finally, the perimeter. This is a rectangle. Maybe it helps if you draw a diagram. A rectangle has 2 lengths and 2 widths. So its perimeter is 2 lengths plus 2 widths, adding up all of the outer sides. The lengths are 15, the widths are 5, so this is 2 times 15 plus 2 times 5. That's 30 plus 10, which is 40 centimeters.